So, this idea of being part of the body of Christ, being members one of another, carries the next logical step, carries us to the next logical step. And that is, if we're members of one another, we're going to take really good care of each other. When someone is backbiting or gossiping or tearing somebody else down, especially if they're part of the church, they're literally backbiting or tearing down part of the body of Christ himself. So turn that coin over, turn that argument around, and we get this. What is good? Now, Paul is bringing things into a very practical focus where he's saying, okay, this is the why, because we're members of one another. We're part of Christ's body. It is a logical, reasonable response from our heart to present our bodies as living sacrifices when we realize who God is, who Jesus is to us, and the amazing benefit that God has extended to us to be made holy, to be made welcome in his presence, to be made his own child. So, the reasonable response, present your bodies as living sacrifices. And while we're on the idea of bodies, the body of Christ is a great illustration of how we relate to each other. And then he concludes with this, or he doesn't conclude, but he carries on with this idea that this love that we appear to have needs to be a real love. Sometimes the church becomes a greenhouse for hypocrisy. It's a place where, I can't reveal any of the truth about me, or I'd be rejected. When in reality, if we love one another, we already know you're faulty and I'm faulty. We already know that we have shortcomings. And I can trust you and you can trust me that we will care for each other. When a little kid is learning to ride a bicycle and fails, mommy and daddy don't reject that kid because he can't learn to ride a bicycle on his own. That's not the way it works. That's not at all the attitude that the family has toward this new family member who's learning to ride a bike. They cheer him on. Come on, do it again. Try it again. You can do this. And then when he's successful at it, everybody cheers. And it needs to be that way in the church. We look at each other not like she's perfect or he's got it all together, but that we're doing this together as part of the body of Christ. We are members, different, with various functions and different purposes, but we're part of one body. And therefore, he says, don't love each other with a hypocritical kind of love. Make it a real love. Care for one another. Abhor, be repulsed by what is evil, and cling to what is good. So in our culture today, we desperately need this guardrail, these lines that say this is evil and I want nothing to do with that. You could say, I've experienced sin and sinfulness in my life and I see what it did and I don't want that. I see what sin does when I look at the cross. I see God's perspective on what sin is, and it's repulsive. There are people that still have refused to watch the movie called The Passion of the Christ, because there are some scenes in that movie that are absolutely repulsive, which is good. That is the perspective that God has towards sin, and that's the perspective that we want. Abhor what is evil and cling to what is good. Cling, hang on to it, incorporate it into your life. Paul says it in another way, whatever things are good and excellent and pure and trustworthy and whatever's worthy of praise, let your mind dwell on these things. But if you fill your mind with the newscasts and the commentaries that are so popular today, you'll realize those are designed to create anxiety and fear and concern. None of those things belong in our life. Now, we need accurate, truthful information about the world around us, but we need to be very careful where we get it and how we ingest it. So abhor what is evil, cling to what is good, love God, love people, and let that love be without hypocrisy. God bless you. He loves you, and we love you.